Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes podcast. My name is Travis.
And I'm Patrick.
And I'm Adam, the creator from Dark Knight Minute.
Hey, Adam, how's it going?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Yeah. All right, so we're here for a fun voyage, I hear.
That's true. This is the show where we've slingshot around the sun in order to go back into the past and revisit geeky movies. You can find our list of reviews over at realpodcastnetwork.com. So, Patrick, why don't you tell the citizens which movie we're revisiting today?
Yes, I am going to read this straight from my screen. I did not realize this was the name of the movie. It's Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. I'm assuming that's like Klingon IV?
Yeah,
okay.
Obviously. Yeah.
Definitely foreign. I don't understand it. So Star Trek 4. Oh, that makes sense.
There you go. You got it.
Yeah. Numbers are the universal language, my butt.
Yeah, Roman numerals. Gotta love them.
Yeah.
Romans. Don't get me started. Totally kidding. I don't want the Roman Empire coming after me. I'm assuming that's still a thing.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, welcome, Adam, and why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
So I am the host of the Dark Knight Minute, where we analyze the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy 1 minute at a time, and our overall website that contains us is Geek Mind Fusion, and so that's where I'm from, and we have had Travis on before, and I'm excited to be on your guys' show now.
Yeah. Was there a particular reason why you picked The Voyage Home?
I'd say it is the Star Trek movie that I remember most from my childhood. It came out the year I was born, so I don't remember seeing it in the theaters, but it was one of the ones that was least scary. So when I was a kid, it was the one I would watch. And it's kind of funny because, overall, I'm a bigger Star Wars geek, but I always had the philosophy that you had to know the competition to truly appreciate everything. So I knew Star Trek as well.
All right. Very cool. All right. Patrick, what's your history with Star Trek 4?
Honestly, I just knew it was the one with the whales.
Yeah, that's a common phrase.
I kind of thought it was going to be the joke of the Star Wars movies, just based on that sentence, being the one with whales.
Oh, instead of the one with the Ewoks?
Well, that is kind of a parallel as to, the cuddlier version, I guess. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot of experience with it at all.
Okay.
I'd say this is the one that I remember seeing as a rental first. So I remember watching this on movie night or whatever. But aside from that, it's very minimal impact. How about you?
Very similar with Adam. I remember this one. I remember seeing this one a lot as a kid. For whatever reason, it was this and Superman 4 that were always on TV. Always on a Sunday, you could turn, one of the local channels for me growing up was Channel 4. And so I don't know if it was intentional that they always played, the fourth movie from both of these franchises. But yeah, seemed like those two movies were just always on. So I definitely remember seeing this one the most. But I only really have most of my memory always comes just in the Earth, portion of the movie. I'm probably, either tuned out or, flipping channels and always seem to come upon the stuff where they're on in the modern day San Francisco or whatever. So
sure.
But I've since gone back through all of Star Trek and watched the movies several times and seen this one now a few times. So
okay, sounds like you're the veteran leader on this one. Okay,
call me the Admiral.
Oh, jeez. Oh man, I'm gonna throw up. So hold on a second.
All right. Yeah. Once you get done doing that, you want to share some taglines with us?
I don't think that's gonna help the nausea, but okay. So, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. We got 4 taglines, ironically. One of which is really not a tagline, but we'll go with it anyway. We have the first one. Beaming down to Earth, December 12th, 1986. They traveled back where 23rd century man had never gone before, to a mad, crazy, outrageous time, 1986.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. And then third, how on earth can they save the future?
Wow.
That's literally what they do. Try to figure out how to save the future on Earth. So, good tagline. Last one. The key to saving the future can be found only in the past. Rather uninspired.
I thought I saw one on IMDb.
Oh, that's what I'm on.
There's one on the image that it shows for the movie. It says Stardate 1986. How on earth can they save the future? So.
Oh yeah, it does. That's so weird that they don't throw that in with the taglines.
Yeah.
When it's the friggin' poster. That's funny.
Someone's just being lazy.
Yeah, it's IMDb. It's, users. Might as well be Wikipedia for crying out loud. Okay, so yeah, I think the beaming down to Earth one is probably the best marketing one.
Yeah.
I also learned that this is the first instance that he actually says that to Scotty in a movie.
Really?
Beam me up, Scotty.
Huh.
Or so IMDb told me.
Well, we know now we can't trust them, so we'll have to assume that they're just lying.
It was just funny to me because that's what everyone thinks of when they hear Star Trek is Beam me up, Scotty. So it's just weird that it took 4 movies. Yeah. I'm assuming it got mentioned in the show at least.
Had to have.
Yeah. So it took 4 movies to actually get it in film.
And maybe not that exact phrasing. Maybe it was sometimes like, Scotty, 2 to beam up or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. Go ahead and cover some act breaks. So Act 1 begins with the dedication to the Space Shuttle Challenger and ends with the crew of the HMS Bounty attempting time travel. Act 2 begins with the crew arriving in modern-day San Francisco and ends with Jillian hitching a ride with Kirk and beaming aboard the Bounty. Act 3 begins with the crew leaving Golden Gate Park in search of whales and ends with the original crew being introduced to the USS Enterprise NCC 1701A.
Wow. I'm assuming that means something to people.
Yeah, I mean...
Other than nobody under 17 can go in the ship?
Yeah.
That's only NC-17 I know.
There's an extra C in there, Patrick.
Whatever. It's extra bad, okay?
Yeah.
It's
Extra
like
adult
triple
content.
X's. Come on.
It's Star Trek After Dark.
Yeah, there you go. The sexier Star Trek.
That's right.
With better hair pieces.
All right. Someone want to jump into Act 1?
Yeah, my first note was that dedication.
Yeah.
I was like, whew, bummer way to start a movie.
Yeah.
Like, I was like down, like, because I remember that being a big deal as a kid, but not totally understanding. Like, I remember teachers having it on TVs and stuff.
Yeah.
And, seeing the explosion and whatever, but I was like in kindergarten, so I didn't quite understand what was going on. Not until like, a couple of years later when we were, covering it in class.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was a cool little like dedication, but it was a somber way to start a movie.
Sure, yeah, it's a nice touch. Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, the timing of it was just you had to say something. Doing a space movie.
Yeah, they started filming this. It was like 4 weeks after the explosion, so it was still kind of fresh on everyone's mind, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it says 1986. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
It took me a while to realize what they were referring to right at first, because it's probably been 20-ish years since I've seen this movie, and I'm like, wait, what? I had to like think back to history class and connect the dots for a few minutes when I was watching this yesterday.
Yeah. I think, is this the one that had like some teachers on board or a teacher on board?
I think so.
I think that's why it was a big deal in school to everybody. But yeah, I didn't realize it was that early on. I guess it was just like probably like the first vivid memory I have or something, which is kind of weird.
Sure.
But yeah, it was because I had always heard this movie was like the lighter version of Star Trek. It was almost like a
fun romp.
Yeah, almost like a TV episode.
Yeah,
kind of like everybody learns a valuable lesson on a very special episode where whales are saved. So
yeah,
I was surprised by the somber beginning.
Sure. It felt good to hear those opening notes of the Star Trek theme for me, and then it does this like transition into like a rather jaunty little sailor tune kind of thing, which most of the score, throughout the movie has that like very, I don't know, classic seafaring type sound to it. So
like kind of like a Popeye.
Sort of. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of. It reminded me some of the sailing, or not sailing, but the some of the scenes in Jaws where they're like, out on the ocean, not the ominous stuff from Jaws, but just the
not the donut.
Yeah.
Donut. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was that's what threw me off as well, is just like the sort of, I don't want to say slapsticky, but almost like the right off the bat, it's just a lighter feel, but at the same time, there's like an inquisition going on. So
yeah.
It's very hard to gauge this movie from the get-go, and it's hard to take out my bias, like already kind of knowing what this movie's about.
Okay.
So the beginning's a bit different than the rest of the movie.
Sure. Yeah, and at the beginning and then the end, the bookends of space, essentially, and were both written by Harve Bennett, and then all the middle stuff, set on Earth, was written by Nick Myers, who wrote Wrath of Khan. They decided to split up the movie and handle it, together, but each taking different sections of the movie, and that's why it's a little bit different in tone. But I really liked seeing like a Klingon in the Federation, and obviously not a member of the Federation, but I couldn't remember, like, is this the first time we've seen like this type of Federation, not council meeting, but yeah, I guess like you said, Inquisition is a great word for that. So, but what I love even more is that Kirk, who isn't even there, still has the ability to like stir up all the emotion and conflict and all this stuff. So it was interesting to me that from the Federation's point of view, he's still like in trouble for actions, from the last adventure.
Yeah, is it from the Genesis project? Because I don't understand why they're mad about him blowing up some Klingons if they attacked. It seemed like that was being debated, but I couldn't quite figure out what he was in trouble with as far as Starfleet goes. I'm assuming it's the Genesis thing. It's
a bit of that. I mean, they remember in Star Trek 3, they stole a ship. Uhura physically assaulted one guy.
Okay, that'll do it.
Scotty, he
sabotaged the other.
Another ship. Yeah, so it's just all of it kind of grouped together, and then all kinds of insubordination and going against all the rules, and I
forgot about the madcap adventure at the beginning where they hijacked it.
My first note kind of goes into, as they're doing that recap of everything that Kirk is in trouble for, and they show the Enterprise blowing up, I just thought, it's nice to look back into when they actually blew stuff up for special effects.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Instead of all the CG explosions we get nowadays.
It made me think they had terrific shots of the explosion in this recap video.
Yeah, it's very well edited,
from various points of view.
Yeah.
I just assumed they had satellite photography on the ship or something.
I think that's what you always kind of assume, is that like everywhere the Enterprise goes, there must be these tiny little drones that hover, outside the ship. Like, like a remora kind of attaches itself to a shark, like, pick off the scraps. I imagine that's how they have all these, wonderful little scenes, because they did that in like classic, the original series. You would always have, if they recall an event, it was always, the same footage that the viewer is watching.
Yeah.
So, and
Well, I just assume that they're being taped for a reality TV show
Sure, yeah.
at all times. So it's the future. I mean, everything's reality TV by then, right? 23rd
Yeah,
century.
pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, go Adam.
I was just gonna say that I want a printed and framed image of the Klingon bird of prey when it's sitting on Vulcan and they're like kind of prepping it for its departure and everything, but it's just this gorgeous view of the ship itself. It's all a painting, except for like the little people that are walking around outside of it. But like you got the rocks and everything. It looks like it's an old vista, looking into a desert and everything, and you got that ship. I just think that matte painting looks gorgeous. So my birthday is coming up soon, folks. If someone wants to get a nice copy of that for me and send it my way, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, I was amazed at how well I could tell that was a matte painting in this one.
Yeah,
because I'm like, oh, yep, total matte painting right there. It's a gorgeous one, but you can totally tell. And the only problem I had was that they did well. They hid the seams for where the people were going up and down that gangway. I'm like, okay, where's the seam?
Yeah.
I couldn't quite find it, but other than that, you could tell really easily it was a matte painting.
Yeah. And it's weird because I remember, watching this as a kid, I think I just assumed that it was a real, set or whatever. I never would have realized that it was a painting. So,
yeah.
And of course, TVs being what they are and how they've advanced. I mean, I was watching this via high definition, got them all in from iTunes, so they're all like crisp and clear, and so now seeing it like on a larger TV than what I would have watched it in the late 80s, it's quite a bit different. So
yeah, I was watching it when I was a kid on a 19-inch TV on VHS.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, that stuff was hidden a whole lot better back then.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but I took this watching very seriously and purchased a Zenith TV from 1986.
Good job.
And watched it on a VHS tape player that you had
Goodwill.
to press down. It like popped up at the top, and then you put the cassette in and push it down.
I appreciate your dedication to the
yes.
Yeah, you are a master of your trade.
Yeah, that's right. We watched the 55 Superman, and I went into one of those talkie theaters.
Yeah.
There's a couple in existence still. But yeah, all that aside, but the weird green color of the ship kind of bothered me the first movie.
Oh, okay.
But watching this, I had another note that maybe it's that color green, like the weather person's green screen, because it, kind of projects itself when it cloaks. So it made me think the cloaking is tied in with that paint job.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's easier to reflect, surrounding images off of. So
maybe
I've been watching way too much Weather Channel. Or
yeah. I remember the Klingon, or not Klingon. Well, I think they were originally Romulan birds of prey. I think they were green with like an orange fiery bird, painted on the top or whatever. I think they were green.
Yeah.
But I think the bird of prey like concept is, it's based on like an actual animal that I think the Romulans, adapted, and designed their ships, based on, and then I think the Klingons then stole, the designs for those ships or copied or whatever. So pretty sure the Klingons used the bird of prey, which is really, a Romulan ship. So I could be completely wrong on that. I think I'm close to the mark, but
hey, I got nothing better.
Me neither.
So what'd you guys think of Spock's re-education? Like that scene with
I'm glad I don't have to take tests that way.
Yeah.
That'd be too stressful.
It was kind of insane. Like I think it gave me an appreciation for how intelligent he is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea he could do like all those tasks at the same time.
But the funny part is like the audio is really sped up when it's asking the questions, but he still, isn't like, I mean, he is answering multiple questions at,
like his hands are typing in answers. He's talking.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem flustered. He's just almost bored or complacent with it. I don't know. It worked for me as far as demonstrating his brain power.
I love that he's like stopped dead in his tracks with the how do you feel question. I really did like that.
The one question I could have answered.
Yeah. How feel you? Cold.
Cool. Yeah, I like that the Vulcan side of him was the first to reboot.
Yeah.
Because even like, being original Spock 1.0, it seemed like he had to learn to be human then as well.
Sure.
Like, after being Vulcan. So I just enjoyed that whole re-education sequence, I guess.
Yeah, at the start of this one, I was a little bit like, I just want classic Spock back, because we've now, we're into the third movie and we haven't really had classic, like original series Spock. Even in the motion picture, he was slightly off and just different. It's like at this point, I was like, I'm ready for the crazy wizard Spock to kind of go away and for classic science officer Spock. It's been a little while since I've watched the next couple movies, so I don't remember if by then he's completely kind of back to his old self. But I do like, that through this movie he gets to learn that human side. So
yeah, it'll come out in the next few acts as well.
Yeah,
his confusion at the human things is always funny.
Sure. Which is always when you get a nice chance to play him and Bones off of each other.
Oh, yeah. I love those two together.
Oh, me too.
They're so good.
I think I just like Bones.
Sure. It's a great
It'll
character.
come up later, too.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many good moments for him in this movie.
Yeah. Patrick, we had a cameo from VJ Armitage, who was one of the... he's one of like the other ship captains that they show on screen. And it was like his ship was being, they were losing power because the probe was, passing by or whatever. Yeah. And he's, I think his name was VJ as well in Octopussy. He was the guy that Bond meets like when he arrives in India.
Yep.
And yeah.
He was my favorite person in that movie.
Yeah. So a little cameo.
Is he the alien-esque person on the ship?
No, he was just on screen, and
I'm trying to picture the crew there.
It's like the only transmission that manages to get through to Starfleet, and he's telling them what had happened and that they're hoping to make a solar sail and try to get back.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah,
got it. Okay, very cool.
So I love. I think it's really smart. The scene with Kirk making ready on the bridge of the Bird of Prey, which they've now dubbed the HMS Bounty. So I love that he's...
I don't get that personally. Can you elaborate on that?
It's from the book. What is it called? Mutiny on the Bounty. So it's like it's a story or it's a book, about like a classic, maybe a British naval vessel, the Bounty, the HMS Bounty, and the crew mutinies against their captain. I think it's Captain Blythe. I've never read it, but I've heard of it.
Okay.
So it's just kind of the reference to an old book about British maritime. I guess because they saw themselves as mutineers against Starfleet. It was the
Just say old person reference.
Old person, yeah. I mean, you were the one talking about watching the Weather Channel all the time. I figured you would have caught that reference. So,
but just because I eat Werther's Originals and watch Weather Channel.
Yeah.
I like hard candies. Is that so wrong? Jeez, these are jerks.
Yeah, but I love that he walks around to each station, of this new new bridge on this new ship that they've taken over, and we get to see like each station. Like, so we got communication with the Uhura, navigation with Sulu, weapons with Chekhov, and then they radio over to engineering with Scotty, and they checks in with everyone. So I like that there's just a little brief touch with everybody, and then there's also a possible original series kind of in joke when Scotty's referencing the food banks which they've converted from Klingon to, I guess, human, and they've given him like a sour stomach.
Yeah.
And Kirk says, oh, is that what it was? And I think it's a nod to like Scotty always being drunk on the original series, or like always drinking at every chance that he got. So,
oh wow, I was thinking way worse than that. That was more bodily function.
Oh,
like, that's what it was that was causing him to smell so bad.
Oh, gotcha.
I think I'm just more sophomoric. I love Scotty. Like, he's
sure.
the hero of this movie for me.
Nice.
He like is bad mouthing the Klingon ship drives, like the engine drives. It's like, oh, now that we've taken him out of the Stone Ages, I can actually get this jalopy up and running.
Scotty's good too.
Oh yeah.
He's like that uncle that says inappropriate things.
Yeah, you're drunk
he's
uncle.
Older, so you just don't care. You just let it go.
Yeah.
That's Scotty for me. I don't know what that says about my uncles though. Any other notes on Act 1 before we do the time warp again?
Yeah, I've definitely still got a few notes. Adam, how about you?
I think that's most of my notes.
Okay. I want to quickly talk about the scene with Kirk and Havok, if you can even call it a scene, really.
Yeah. Weak.
It
Super
was.
short.
I at first when I first rewatched it, I was she says something about like, oh, we haven't had a chance to talk about David and all that, and I thought they Kirk mentions like we've been here on Vulcan for 3 months, so initially I was like, oh, that's just bad writing, like they haven't had a chance, in quotes, but they've been there for 3 months and everything. And then I rewound it and kept rewatching the scene and really focusing on Havok, on Robin Curtis, playing Havok. And then I noticed that there's some like rage in her eyes and kind of some anger. And I don't know if it's the actress is basically being given like a handful of lines and then being brushed aside for this whole movie, or if it's because she tells him that your son saved us and saved all of us and everything like that. And at first I thought, it was just sadness for Kirk. But then, like I said, on my second view, she plays it with his anger. And I think it's because Kirk has been avoiding her maybe for 3 months and has made it essentially he's dodged her at every turn and not wanted to talk about David and everything that went down. And now essentially she's got him cornered. She has his ear for 10 seconds, and I like the look on his face when she brings up David. It's just a slight like he doesn't want to hear this, he doesn't want to think about this. And I actually really like the moment. I dislike the idea or the decision to basically just write her out of the movie and out of this whole story, because she's been here for different actress, but she was there in Wrath of Khan. She was a big part of Star Trek 3, and now she's, I feel like she should be on this trip with them, but
I think Spock would speak up for her. Like,
yeah,
but I guess he's weird Spock right now.
Right.
But, I mean, she essentially, I guess, re-raised him.
Sort of.
He was going through that growth spurt, I guess.
Well, and they had not a night together, but in part of his accelerated growth, he had to go through Ponfar, which was basically when it's like the Vulcan mating time, and they hook up, for that. I forget, did we have that in Star Trek 3, or was that is that something that they removed from the story?
There is a section that I pulled from IMDb. It said that there was a scene cut from this film explaining why she stays on Vulcan, and that's because she's pregnant with Spock's child.
Yeah.
Based on events from Star Trek 3 where she, and it's in quotes, treated the young Spock's Ponfar.
Okay.
So I guess that's the unsung reason why she doesn't go with them, is that oddly she gets, I don't know what mating rituals are for them, but it seems like a weird way to treat a character as basically just a person that can get you through the teenage years of Vulcanism. It's a weird way to treat a character that's been around for a few movies.
I agree. I mean, I think it would have been better just to not even have her in the movie. Say that she's in another 2 cities over, like learning or on another mission or something. Like just come up with a reason not to have her in the movie, like rather than have this actress reprise a role and then essentially say, well, bye. So I thought that was weird. So didn't really care for that treatment of the character. So yeah, and that's pretty much it for me for Act 1.
So did anyone else want to hear the Time Warp song from Rocky Horror when they said Time Warp?
Oh, I missed that.
He's like, Time Warp, now. Wow, that kind of sounded like Christopher Lloyd there.
Marty!
Marty! Yeah. So yeah, we take a trip on a whip around the sun. Made me think of Apollo 13 where they whipped around the moon, but maybe that's where they got it from. Or,
yeah.
Space travel in general. But
apparently, yeah, the whole slingshot thing is a real thing. Like you can use a body in space, like with gravity. You can use it to.
Well, I saw it in the most scientifically accurate movie of all time, Armageddon. I mean, that's how they got on the asteroid coming towards Earth. They slingshotted around the moon and then magically landed on an asteroid. Yep, hard science.
Good call.
There you go. Yeah, it's just in like every space movie where they have to like go really fast for some reason.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a trope, but I guess it's actually real. So
yeah,
I guess that's your only option in space.
I mean, they've even used it as recently as The Martian when they have his crew slingshot around the moon to head back to save him. They're like, it'll be faster if we have them do that. I'm like,
it's true.
We're still using the slingshot.
Yeah, and shouldn't they have to go around the Earth at least like 20 times per Superman before they actually go to 1986?
Right.
I mean, that he went around like 20 times just to go back a few hours. They had to go back a couple centuries.
Just be here all day.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna puke.
Yeah. I love that like right there at the end of Act 1, the idea and the notion of the whole, the probe, and they figure out it's whale song, and they rapidly figure out like, okay, we just got to go back in time. Like, I love that basically is all presented in like 5 minutes, and then they just do it, So it's like, even as the audience or even just watching it, you don't have time to like, they don't sit down and weigh the dangers. It's just a rapid, like, this is the plan. We're going to do it. We don't have time to think about it or, to come up with a different plan, So I really like that. So, and of course that, takes us into Act 2, but.
I mean, I just like the idea that an alien vessel isn't humanoid and is talking to another intelligent species on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would have been better if it was dolphins, but that's just my opinion. I mean, Flipper, come on.
Sure.
He's smart.
I watched part of the, like, one of the little bonus things with the movie, and it talked about they basically gave Leonard Nimoy, since he was going to be directing it, they pretty much handed him the keys and said, do whatever you want. And it was based on a conversation that he had maybe with another friend. They were talking about extinction and how it was, various animals that were either facing extinction or had gone extinct, and they started talking about whales, and that's what gave him the idea, like, make this story, about the impending, extinction of this animal. And so that's why, obviously the main story is about whales. So
what I'm hearing is he dropped the ball, and we could have had a Jurassic Park Star Trek spin like together.
Yeah.
If you're going extinct animals. I mean, space T-Rex.
Why didn't they go back a little further?
It's got sci-fi original movie written all over it. So how'd you guys like the time travel space trip like sequence?
Yeah.
I was very confused as to what was going on. I was like, did they like warp out of their ship and now they're somewhere like I didn't expect them to wake up back on the ship. I was very confused when that happened.
That whole sequence was really weird, and like the graphics on it, that's one of those things that doesn't quite hold up, but like the morphing faces was still kind of cool when they'd morph between two different people. And then I did not understand at all that just like basically mannequin, that human form just like flipping around everywhere and then all of a sudden ending up in like blue flame. And then all of a sudden there's just this shot of water somewhere.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely the one part of the movie that just it's out of place. It doesn't hold up because the graphics of it, and I'm glad they don't reuse it the second time when they come back, go back through time again. But I do like the notion that they just kind of wake up, like they've it's like rendered them unconscious for maybe a few minutes. So I did like that. And they weren't really sure if they even went, if it worked, if they went through time. I kind of like that. So they have to check the computer and see if the thruster's fired or something like that. So
yeah, it's like the auto brake system.
Yeah.
Or something that indicates time travel or something. I don't know. But yeah, being 1986, those were probably some of the coolest graphics at the time, though.
Yeah.
The next best thing would have been like Money for Nothing video.
Oh, yeah.
On MTV by Dire Straits.
Yeah.
With the polygon computer graphics. But I was kind of impressed considering, the year.
Yeah.
Because they were, fairly fluid model representations of their faces. So
yeah, they were pretty good 3D models for back then. And like I've actually done some 3D modeling in school. And it is a lot harder than I ever thought it would be. And that was with like current technologies to do it. Yeah. And so the fact that they were able to do that well back then, that was very impressive.
Sure. For me, it's more like the imagery doesn't tell me anything. I don't know why they chose to use that type of imagery, and it's all disconnected because like you said, you got the 3D morphing heads, and then you have the stiff, I guess humanoid, mannequin floating through fire and then into water, and then there's like scenes in water, and then you see this stark, almost black and white image of like reeds in a little shallow pool. Like to me, it's all just more artistic and it just doesn't fit the movie. I don't think so. For me, it's like, just because you can do something doesn't maybe doesn't mean you should. Like,
a lot of films fall into that trap.
Yeah.
But it's Star Trek. They gotta bend or not bend, but they have to go towards the new and exciting or whatever.
Yeah.
So I could see why they were tempted by it, but as far as incorporating it into the film, it was sort of like, hey, we got this thing. Let's see what we could do with it. Because we got to remember, 1986 or 85, you don't even have Super Mario yet. He's a bunch of little pixels.
Yeah.
So I think they were just given a toy and see what they could do with it.
Something I picked up on were just other little time travel-y moments from this movie that I had noticed in other movies. So the whole trapped, without a fuel source, it just made me think, we need a lightning strike, of 1.21 gigawatts in order to get us back home. When they arrive in, they set down over Golden Gate State Park or Golden Gate Park, and it's garbage collectors. And it's like, why are garbage collectors always the witness to the arrival of time travelers? Like, it was the same with the Terminator. It's a garbage guy driving a garbage truck that witnesses,
Oh, I thought it was just a homeless guy like in Back to the Future.
It's because there's two events. It's like the Terminator comes back and it's a garbage collector that sees him, and then it's a homeless guy that sees Kyle Reese come back.
That's what I was thinking of. Okay. I remember commenting on that before.
Yeah. Once they get everyone's here and they're trying to find everything, they instantly go to the phone book. So I know we talked about the phone book thing a lot with the Terminator. So I like that that was also their first place to go look is the phone book. So
Yeah, I used to work in a building with the Yellow Pages company.
oh yeah.
And it was when I was in book publishing. And I was like, okay, here's a race to see who's going to be out of a job first. print books that are basically, anything you get on the internet or YouTube versus the Yellow Pages, which is basically the same thing. So it was quite an ironic setup in our building.
Nice.
Yeah, the Yellow Pages has fallen a bit. Damn Google. I blame Google, Steve Jobs, and YouTube.
Right.
But yeah, it is weird that time travel has followed those three like tropes so quickly together.
Yeah.
Like within a matter of a few years.
Yeah, I mean, we've covered all three. Like we've covered, just 1 year ago, so in terms of the year these came out. So.
Oh man, I came up with an epiphany all of a sudden.
What's that?
I'm gonna have to do some Googling, which I know I just said I hate Google, but
We'll go to the Yellow Pages.
Yes, Yellow Pages. Where is the internet? No, I was thinking of Spock's quote unquote disguise.
Oh sure.
And it looked like the Karate Kid, and I was wondering when the Karate Kid came out. I just was thinking they were trying to tie in as many movies as possible.
Oh.
1984, they were tying in Karate Kid. I knew it.
Nice job.
Back to the Future, Terminator, and the Karate Kid. That is basically a synopsis of Star Trek 4. You're welcome.
Nice. Good work.
So I picked up on one little thing that I don't know a lot of other people necessarily do. After they go to the aquarium and everything, and Jillian is like basically following them, and Kirk's trying to explain Spock to her. He's talking about how he was part of the free speech movement.
Yeah.
But then he says, I think he did a little too much LDS.
Yeah.
And I laughed really hard at that part because if you don't know, LDS stands for Latter-day Saints, which is the church I belong to. So I laughed really hard at that point because I'm like, Spock's doing a little too much religion, huh? Even though I knew he meant LSD. But
yeah, that's funny.
Every time that joke is made, it just makes me laugh because I know intimately what they're referencing.
Yeah.
I could see that, like, even working still, because he does come off as sort of spiritual.
Yeah.
With his, like, but I guess more in a Hare Krishna kind of way with his outfit.
Yeah.
But he comes off, like, kind of, like, introspective and quiet, and
very mystical.
He gives that vibe. So I guess it could work either way.
Yeah.
Like, super religious, or, I guess I'm comparing religion to LSD now, so that's probably not good.
Back out slowly, Patrick.
Yeah. Scotty, beat me out of here.
Yeah. The part I like about the LDS, joke is that obviously he's getting it wrong because, it's a vague understanding of history of the 20th century. But then it still works because she kind of gives him a look like, you don't know what you're talking about, because it's like, even if he was, a quote unquote, like someone who was, kind of a square, that kind of person would still call it LDS because they didn't have any firsthand experience with, that 20 years ago or whatever. So it works on both of those levels of just.
Yeah. It's just, they're odd characters. They don't blend well.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They're not, attire aside, they say weird things that are fairly obvious, like, Admiral and
Starfleet.
The extinction comment that she obviously picked up on.
Yeah.
Oh, and just when Spock is trying to figure out the colorful metaphors right after he comes out of the whale tank, that just swearing every other word is so funny.
The hell they're your whales. Yeah. So one of my favorite parts of the movie is like the way they interact with the real world, because for a big part of they went to the past in the original series a few times, but it was still always backlots and sound stages, and it was still old, TV making, so production value, it wasn't like you ever got to see these characters in the real world, So for me, it's just great to see these guys interacting in quote, modern day, San Francisco. I think it's a smart way to do it. For one, even the onlookers, the not even extras, but the people who are the real people who are walking down the sidewalk and they see, oh, there looks like a movie set up ahead. I'm just going to stand here and stare and gawk. It works because these people do all look weird and out of place. So you can buy that maybe these people who are, just real people are just staring at these strange visitors, so it works even from a production standpoint of like, well, you're in several other movies where you just have normal characters who aren't involved in time travel, sometimes you notice those background people who are just staring at this, movie production being underway, and it can kind of maybe take you out of it, or you notice it or things like that. But here it kind of works to its advantage of, these people all look weird. So of course they'd be getting stared at by pedestrians. So
yeah, there was one pedestrian that when Chekhov and Uhura were talking, like, where is the nuclear vessels?
Yeah.
I got a snippet of like an anecdote that somebody mentioned that lady that actually responds, the extra in there, she was only in the film because they towed her car for the production sequence.
Yeah.
Like they had to set up, and she needed money to get her car out of the tow yard. And they told her to act natural, and that's why she responded. Because naturally you would respond to somebody asking a question, even though she wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
She was supposed to ignore them like everyone else, and they kept it in the movie. So it's little things like that that just made me like this like sequence so much better.
I think it's in Alameda. That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think the things that paid off the time travel the most for me were, and I'm going to need help on this because it's what I heard, but I don't know if it's just me wanting to hear this.
Okay.
But did Kirk say, and I quote, "double dumbass on you"?
Yeah.
Yes, he did say that.
Okay, I wasn't entirely confident on the end of that.
Yeah. Double dumbass on you.
That made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
And then just Spock in general was just a treat. Like him and like his awkward Vulcan behavior, like when they're in the pickup truck and Kirk's saying they like Italian, he doesn't like Italian. Like he doesn't want, no. It just killed me, and it was so like slapsticky, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those slapstick moments that is totally forgivable because you could see that actually happening in real life.
Oh yeah,
sure.
I just loved it. Okay, so man, there's a lot of stuff in this act.
So
sure,
I had a question this watch through. When Spock jumps into the whale tank and he's like in there with the whales. This time I watched it, I had the thought: is he mind melding with the whale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. That's how he knows she's pregnant. Yeah. That's how he knows the whale's pregnant, I think.
Well, and he even said when he got out of it, because Kirk says something like, "Hey, there's these two whales. We can take them." And then I think that's what it makes Spock think. Well, we have no more right to lay claim over these whales than the people that hunted them and everything. So he even says he needed to, or he didn't say, but
he communicated their intent.
Yeah,
I think is
he wanted their blessing essentially. Hey, this is the plan, and if you guys are willing, so. Yeah,
I don't know how good they would talk to the space whales if they got kidnapped.
Sure.
Against their will or whatever.
Yeah, that could have made things even worse.
Yeah,
that could have been true. Like, just drown this planet, turn it into water world.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that.
No.
Oh, duh! I almost forgot this other favorite part of this movie.
Okay.
The punk rocker.
Okay, I was hoping that's what you were going to say. What do you have on him?
Oh no, I just knew that.
Okay.
Like, I guess it came from Leonard Nimoy's real life experience with a punk rock guy that had music blaring.
Oh,
And he
okay.
thought to himself he wished he was Spock so he could pinch his neck off
Nice.
or pinch his head off or whatever. I think that's how he worded it.
Yeah.
But I just liked it. That and the bus crowd just applauding afterwards.
Yeah.
It was just a fun thing.
Because if you watch that crowd the whole time, they're all like, you see several of the ladies like toward the back next to where they are. They're all like looking at him in disgust, and you can tell it's so annoying.
Yeah. Well, the punk rocker is Kirk Thatcher, and he was actually he was a producer on the movie. And then he's worked on like creature effects and other effects, special effects on like Return of the Jedi, E.T. and Gremlins, RoboCop. He's been a producer, director, writer, and artist on like the Muppets TV shows and movies. The TV show Dinosaurs, Not the Mama, that Dinosaurs TV show.
Oh, yeah.
So stuff like that with a lot of like, creature effects, that kind of stuff. He wrote the song that is playing on the radio. He and another one of the sound effect guys from the movie, like he said they needed a song, and he was like, well, I know enough about punk music, and some of the other guys in the sound department were in punk bands. So he said that they just took a weekend and wrote the song or recorded it in a hallway so that it sounded like shit, because like as punk music, kind of should. And that's how they came up with the actual song.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And Kirk Thatcher, like kind of sort of reprises his punk role in Spider-Man: Homecoming last year. There's a scene when like in the first act of Homecoming where Spider-Man, he's just like he's eating a sandwich, he's helping out the locals. It's just kind of showing how he spends his evenings as Spider-Man, like he's doing flips because the guy on the down in the street says, "Hey, do a flip." And the guy standing next to the guy saying do a flip is Kirk Thatcher. And he's like, big bushy beard. And I think he's even holding a boombox. So it's like, and he just happened to be like in New York, and he knew somebody from the Homecoming production. And it was just an idea of like, hey, come down to visit, the set. And they just, threw him in the movie. And so essentially you get, this guy, maybe he made his way from San Francisco in the 80s to Manhattan or I guess Queens in, the 2000s. Same guy. I like to think of it as the same character, and just an old punk. So.
God, that'd be so awesome to see like a balding mohawk.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Somebody get on that.
Yeah,
that's
Kelsey Grammer. I'm looking at you. Let's see. So,
my other favorite part is when Scotty and Bones are at the Plexicorp, and and they're talking to the doctor guy, and he's like, well, "How about you let the professor use your computer?" And Scotty's just like, "Hello, computer."
Yeah.
And then Bones goes and hands him that old mouse. My goodness, that's an old mouse. But then he holds it up to his mouth. Computer. and you could tell that the guy who's been showing him around, he's just like, this guy's supposed to be a professor. This guy's an idiot. What is he doing? Just use the keyboard.
Yeah, but he plays it off so perfectly. Like, keyboard. How quaint.
Yeah.
But then, like, as I was watching that whole scene, I'm watching as he presses the buttons, and I'm like, that keyboard is either like completely a function keyboard, or because like he's pressing like one key and it like opens stuff, and I'm just like, is that just a function keyboard? Because it's not a regular keyboard. He's not opening it by pressing like K or whatever he's hitting.
Right.
And then, like, it's amazing how fast he starts going. And I'm like, there's no way on that old a computer you're going to be getting it to do stuff that quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down, did they speed up the camera on that? Because his arms and fingers start moving around real quick. And I was like, can Scotty move that quick? I mean, he's been addled by years of alcohol. I'm just saying. But yeah, I love that thing. It was just like random computer noises and clicks and clicks. And it just pulled up graphical images, like sequences of chemistry and like, you know, like a molecular makeup of chemistry just by clicking a few keys here and there.
Yeah, see, like back in the day, you got away with stuff like that. The people didn't know. Oh, okay, he's on a computer. I don't know how that works. Yeah. I mean, back in 86, you didn't have very many personal computers at all, so they could get away with it back then. But now we're just like, wait, nuh-uh. There's no way.
Yeah, I think Scotty reminded me of like little kids now that keep trying to swipe TVs and computer screens because they're not used to a keyboard. They're just used to smartphones and iPads. So like my daughter always like tries to poke the TV to get something to play. So she's like Scotty in a way.
She'll probably only have to wait a few more years before that's, you know.
She's already telling Alexa to do things. And
oh, man.
So it's like, Alexa, make toast. Although I'm sure there is a Wi-Fi connected toaster somewhere, so she's probably not far off. But yeah, I just like that is a common occurrence now with people, like kids being confused by the gradual technology move to less physical input. But I wanted to see, I wrote down that I wanted to see a Scotty and Bones adventure hour.
Oh, yeah.
Because Scotty and Bones chemistry is just awesome. Like when he says, he calls him his assistant. He's like, could my assistant join us as well? The illustrious Professor Scotty or whatever wants his assistant Bones to join them.
And Bones was like, don't get buried in the role.
As Scotty's just beaming, a giant smile.
Oh, yeah. I was just like, Scotty's got his moment, finally.
Yeah. That's how I felt when Kirk and Bones and Jillian were in the hospital. Like, yeah, I want this hospital show of Bones, like, treating, modern day people with his futuristic, methods. And I love seeing Bones in the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah. And man, they really take a crap on the 80s.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first thing they say when they get there was Spock's like, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere.
And I think Kirk says something about it being a violent and scared people. Like, he's talking about them like aliens. They're they're easily startled and prone to
every other word is a swear word.
Yes. And then Bones just takes a dump on the medical industry.
Sure.
Oh, I can't imagine people in the 80s watching this be like, hey, what the hell?
Yeah, I think they would have liked it. I think it's, I kind of like when movies, make fun of the current state of things, especially when it's, when they are from the future or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, even like watching the original series, it's like they were constantly referring to things that happened, in the 60s and 70s, especially with civil rights and things like that. Like they were making obvious, morality tales about how messed up, the current state of things were. So
I like the dialysis lady.
Yeah.
She's moaning and he's like, what's wrong with you? She's like, kidney dialysis. He's like, dialysis. He's just so disgusted and he pulls something out. Here, swallow this. And if you need anything, call me. And then she goes and she swallows it. And then we see her later. She's like, I'm feeling so good.
Yeah.
And they're like, and then you see the doctors behind her. It's completely functional.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have definitely screwed up Doc's plans of not messing with the future.
Oh, yeah.
They got the aluminum, what was that?
Transparent aluminum.
Yeah. Which apparently became reality 20 years later, is what I saw.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a transparent aluminum.
Nice.
Yeah,
Sweet.
I was like, okay, because I'd always seen like those Science Channel shows where Star Trek actually like those gadgets become
Oh, sure.
influential.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, obviously like the communicator and
Yeah.
cell phones
Yeah.
and things like that. But yeah, that was one that directly, and I don't know if they named it after this movie or not, but I just thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
they mess with time a bit too much.
Oh, yeah.
Needless to say, how we end Act 2.
Oh, yeah.
Actually kidnapping somebody into the future.
Hey, she was a willing...
They could have beamed her back.
But she said, like, you know, she had, I think, a great point. Like, you're bringing whales into the 23rd century where there haven't been whales for like 300 years. So, you know, who else is going to know, you know, anything about them? So
I just imagine their food source is gone and they start hunting man.
Yeah. Planet of the Whales.
Just gumming them to death. Okay, off base. That's my job here.
Well, and back to the whales, like you were kind of talking about how it starts on a kind of a somber note with the part with the Challenger and everything, and just the footage, the real world footage that they show on that that tour of the, you know, Cetacean Institute, like that is sobering material.
Yeah, it is.
Because you're seeing just the way they're really cutting into the whales and things like that. And it's heartbreaking to watch.
My kids were watching with me when I was watching this yesterday.
I wondered about like, kids, you know.
My kids are like, Dad, are they cutting that whale up? I'm like, yeah, they are. They're like, that's not good. I'm like, no, it's not. But yeah, it was fairly graphic. There was like couple of those parts where they're just like taking that big old like scythe right into the side of it. You're just like, holy cow. Jeez.
Yeah, it made me think of Whale Wars, the TV show. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I haven't watched that. I did watch The Cove.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Same kind of deal.
Same kind of deal. It's about dolphins, but it's, oh man, that made me cry. So I kind of thought about that watching this, and I mean, good for the you know, when they were making this, like, yeah, we're gonna use, you know, this real world example of things that are currently going on. Like it, I'm glad they decided to really put it in there, just to get it in people's faces, you know, especially 30 feet tall and a big screen in a you know, not summer blockbuster, but like you know, I think it was released in December, but. You know, good for them for putting it in people's faces. So,
yeah, and I think her quote is like another thing that is helpful to Spock, where he says it's not logical to hunt something to extinction, and she says, "Whoever said humans were logical."
Yeah,
that was a good line.
It's like, okay, damn, all right, dumping on 1986 and humans in general. I get it, we suck. Jeez. Star Trek, yeah, and sadly, it's still going on today. Except in Whale Wars, they have a bunch of people holding up signs on those ships that say it's for scientific like purposes.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's like the Steve Irwin is the name of the ship that has like the Greenpeace type folks.
Yeah,
and they're trying to block as they get to hunting grounds. They try to block and get in the way of those ships, kind of thing. Sure. It's a fun show to watch because it's like real life struggles, but it made me think of that because they get pretty graphic on that show as well.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of, well, not kind of, it is screwed up, but
yeah.
I mean, you don't get like a real world statement in a major motion picture that often.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool that is something that was a big part of this movie. Because like, as I said earlier, I just knew it as the whale movie. I didn't really know what it was about really as a kid. So I didn't realize. I don't think I realized that it was real. Making a real statement. Yeah. Like I just thought it was like part of the story. So watching it now is a lot different than watching it as like a 6-year-old or whatever.
Yeah.
Although, what the hell, parents? Why are you making me watch it? They're just like you, Adam. Just like you.
I didn't make my kids watch. I can't get my kids to go away when I'm watching stuff.
So you just put on whale murder videos?
There you go. That'll clear a room.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. My kids saw Howard the Duck at the beginning, so I can't say anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying duck boobs.
Oh man. So anything? What else for? Let's see. Where are we at?
The submarine power source.
Oh, sure.
That's Uhura and Chekhov were after.
The aircraft carrier.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought submarine because of nuclear subs, probably.
Sure.
But yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But it made me think of how the blue shirts in the vessel reminded me of the red shirts on the TV show where they're just inept and just waiting to die. Because everyone was just like horrible at their job except for the ones in actual like army attire.
Well, yeah, I guess it's the Marines who like that
makes sense.
Their duty, I guess, when the ship is in port like that is to stand guard and protect it. So it is like everyone else is just crew; they're not soldiers, So
they're in the military service. You think they'd be a little better?
Yeah, they
one's mostly just diving out of the way or ignoring this Russian running through their ship.
Well, they did exactly. I did watch one of the other little bonus things about the real world, locations or the filming locations, and they use the real crew and everything, and they explained how when there's a situation where the Marines are responding to something and they tell everyone to hit the deck, like that's all you're supposed to do is just get down and let the Marines do their thing. So it makes sense if you watching that after the fact, like, oh, okay, it makes sense that not everyone was like trying to stop Chekhov. So.
I'll buy that, but there is a scene as he escapes where he's running down a hallway shot.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of guys that are just walking around.
Yep, I noticed that too.
I noticed them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Made the Navy look real bad.
Yeah. My dad was on a aircraft carrier, so I have to think about him.
So is mine. I know. That's what made me mad. I was like, geez, would my dad have just hung out in the mess hall and stayed away? It's like, I'll just stay in the armory where it's safe.
Yeah.
That's how I pictured it. I was like, wow. But yeah, I didn't realize that was supposed to be the Marines.
Yep. And obviously the ship is it's meant to be the Enterprise, which nice little callback.
Sure. Yeah.
Since the USS, well, I guess this Trek Enterprise is named after the original Enterprise from World War II, and so like many ships have had the name Enterprise since then and everything. But I guess the Enterprise was underway. It was like out. It wasn't in port, I guess, and so they're actually using the the USS Ranger. But I imagine visually, I think they imagine they look about the same. So
yeah, work with what you have.
Yeah.
When we get to it, I have a perfect transition note.
Okay.
So I don't know if we're done with Act 2 yet.
Think I am.
I think so. I mean, they've I would say they're about to head out and go do some whale hunting of their own.
Okay, well, when we find out that the whales have been taken overnight against Jillian's previous conception that they were leaving later in the day, Jillian comes to the ship and sees Scotty floating around in the air as they're getting one of the plexi container windows in place.
Yeah.
They have a scene where she is yelling out for Kirk. He comes out, and then he's like, yeah, you have to stay here. And then he gets beamed back, and she latches onto him at the last second. Kind of disappointed it wasn't like a Fly scenario where they merged together.
I thought about the same thing.
I'm just saying, like Spaceballs, they beamed somebody up and his head was on backwards and nobody told him his ass was that big. I was expecting something kind of similar and was disappointed. Just saying, a fly did that much damage. How much would a woman do to a guy? I mean, There'd be some freakish thing that happened, or maybe it would create a new being altogether.
Yeah, combine them into one.
There you go. Man and woman making a new being. Could have been beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, that was my transition to the third act.
Oh, nice.
It works. It works.
Yeah.
Just saying, I was kind of bummed out.
Yeah, I guess they have the higher quality transporter, and Spaceballs went for the discount version.
That makes sense. I mean, their air came in soda cans. So that's for you, Rory. You bastard. We have not we, but I have an ongoing beef with Rory from the Dog Hair Network. He mocks my love of Spaceballs. So I feel it necessary to bring it up as often as I can.
Yeah. Tries to slip in a reference in every episode. So
he called me out for not doing it, so now I'm making an effort. Oh, well. All right, I'm done now.
All right. So Act 3, what do you guys got?
So when the bird of prey is going to find the whales, and they see the whaling ship, and they're like racing in there, and like they shoot the torpedo, and it supposedly hits the bird of prey.
Yeah.
And then it decloaks. It's too high. Like they're not going to be shooting the harpoon quite that high to like hit the whales, I would think. I would think it would have been lower. They seem way too high for that to have stopped the harpoon.
Yeah, I mean, that's just some deft maneuvering on Sulu's part.
I mean, yeah, it is Sulu. So, I mean, he could have, swung one of the wings low enough to block it and then flipped it back around or something.
Yeah.
He is that good.
Yeah.
But, I know, just my nitpicking.
Based on that outcome, I assume that they're going to replace their photon torpedoes with harpoon launchers, because that'll decloak any vessel, apparently.
I was almost sad watching it through this time, thinking, man, why didn't Chekhov go and like just pot shot the harpoon off the front of the boat? That would have been awesome.
Yeah. For some reason, I had like more memory of them like not destroying their ship, but definitely like disabling them or making sure that they couldn't go after more whales with this boat. I must be thinking of a different movie, or but yeah, I think they should have maybe disabled their harpoon, like you said. Maybe done a little bit more to make sure they can't continue their hunting. But
yeah, well, I'm sure a spaceship probably freaked them out for a little bit.
Yeah, and it does make sense. Like they would have to decloak. It's kind of something that's been established, previously. Like you can't beam without decloaking.
But they were doing it earlier. Like
were
they beamed.
Oh,
in the park,
you're
they
right.
they beamed
Plot
up
hole.
Spock. They beamed up Kirk and Jillian.
That's true. Yeah, I'm fairly certain they've established it in other. Maybe the Enterprise. Well, Enterprise doesn't cloak.
Maybe it's because they were like landed and they could divert more power to cloaking and that. I mean, when they were on the ground, they could turn a crap load off. And I mean, when they are bringing, how much did Scotty say? They're beaming up 40 tons?
Something like that, yeah.
Probably conserving power, yeah.
Yeah, that probably took a heck of a lot more power than just beaming up, like, Kirk, Spock.
So, who wants to say the major line of this act break? Scotty? Anyone?
There be whales here!
Admiral! There be whales here!
I was waiting for some Lucky Charms to come in.
It's not Irish.
Whales.
He's not like your people.
Clovers. I know, but he sounds like. I was just waiting for horseshoes and clovers and blue moons. I was impressed with that whole sequence, though. Like,
sure,
just having that. I don't know. It was effectively done. It made me feel like the whales were actually on the ship.
Yeah.
And the lighting, how they would have like, you could tell they were shining lights through water because you could get the like water playing on the walls behind them and everything. It looked really good.
Yeah, I really think, and I about halfway through, I was like, I'm betting that most of the time we see whales, they're essentially props, or they've been created. Obviously, like the scene with Spock interacting and doing the mind meld, I was like, there's no way they let Leonard Nimoy into a tank with a real whale. And then come to find out, like, actually most of the whales in this movie were just animatronic, or even remote controlled, animatronic whales. And then like the tails that would come up out of the water and splash, those were all also built for the movie. Some of the underwater, scenes with the whales swimming around were real. And then obviously a lot of the whales breaking the surface and when they were out on the ocean, that was real footage. But I think they did a really great job with the whales that they built for the movie. Several other spots throughout the movie, but
yeah, it was really well done.
Yeah,
like I never thought, puppet.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Like I didn't even realize that. I thought most of it was real whales, but that's cool.
Yeah,
they did it well enough. It still holds up.
Yeah, for sure. Patrick and I kind of talked before we were recording that once we're in Act 3, our notes just kind of disappeared. Because you end up just kind of watching the movie. And so, Adam, I don't know what you've got for Act 3.
I guess I have kind of two major notes. When I got to when they released the whales out into the ocean, I was amazed at how long it took the whales and the probe to communicate. I mean,
sure.
They played that for quite a while. I'm like, really? How many times did we cut in between these two? I thought it was like a couple too many, but I mean, just my opinion. But I was amazed how long they had that go on. But then the other note I had is when the probe finishes up and it starts leaving, and then like they all start celebrating, and they they start jumping off the bird of prey and they start swimming around.
Yeah.
I was watching that scene. And I don't think this was Spock. I think this was Leonard Nimoy
Absolutely
trying to grab the ladder and get back in. He's like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And William Shatner's like, nope, you're getting in here with us. It was funny because at one part when the probe leaves and they see the whales, they show the cameras on the crew and like Spock's smiling.
Mm-hmm.
And that was super weird.
Yeah.
To see him smile. And that's where you kind of get that feeling like, oh, Leonard Nimoy's here instead of Spock right now. And then I thought it was just super funny as William Shatner's grabbing him and trying to pull him into the water. And as he pops out, he just goes, ah!
Yeah. Yeah.
It was super funny because you could tell he did not want to do it.
Mm. Yeah, I did like that moment. Yeah, you can tell that everyone's just breaking character, and it's no longer maybe at the time they probably figured, well, we can just have fun and splash around and we'll end up cutting around it or something. But I'm glad that they chose to keep it all in.
Yeah, that was fun. I think William Shatner's just like, oh, time to have some fun. I'm going to start pulling people in. And then I can't remember if it was Uhura or Scotty. So one of them just is like, oh, he's pulling people in. I'm going for it. And or he just jumps right in. It was funny.
I'm going to give a shout out to the special effects for Kirk's toupee.
I thought about that too, especially when he's swimming underwater.
Yeah,
true.
It stopped looking like him. Even when it was full on him, it weirded me out.
People look weird underwater.
I guess it just did not look like. It didn't look like Kirk. I was weirded out by that, and then I was like, okay, let's see if I can find the line of his toupee.
He's paid good money for that rug.
I shouldn't watch it on that Zenith.
Yeah.
Probably could have told you where it was. All right.
My kind of last little bit is I love going back to the Federation and so many really good looking aliens that kind of pop up in this scene. It's a lot like some of the great aliens we've seen throughout Star Wars, and then just the charges that are brought up against Kirk. I like that they pan across the crew, and it kind of as they're reading out the charges, it kind of applies to whoever we're seeing. So you see Uhura when they mention assaulting Federation or a Starfleet officer, and that was something she did. They talked about the sabotaging of another Federation vessel, and you see Scotty. So just things like that, it kind of lines up with their list of crimes. And I love kind of that it goes back to, like, we've got Captain Kirk again. They've demoted him from admiral to captain, and appointed him to another ship. So,
which is kind of what he wanted anyway.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, yeah, when this whole like trilogy started, like he wanted to be on a starship. He didn't want to be an admiral, and I like that that Jillian kind of gets to go out on her own and find her own place in this universe. And she, Kirk's like, "When will I see you again?" And she's like, whenever. So I like that she's not just doesn't end up just being his girl.
Well, he's pretty old.
Wow, that doesn't stop a man like James T. Kirk.
Okay. Yeah, I'm assuming Viagra is rather potent by then.
Absolutely, it's 23rd century.
So yeah, we get a little surprise as to what their new ship is going to be. Hey?
Heck yeah!
The NC-17 showgirl surprise.
Nailed it. Yeah, that's the name of the ship.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a pretty strict adherence to Star Trek lore.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know the name of the ships.
Yeah. I'm just impressed at how fast they can crank out new Enterprises.
No kidding.
Because we know it's been 3 months since kind of the events of Star Trek 3. So in that time, they've been able to construct a new, or I guess they probably had that model, or that they've just renamed it. An older one, maybe they've renamed it the Enterprise, I guess. So
I'm assuming 3D printers got really advanced.
Sure, yeah.
Because I thought that ship was getting retired because it was.
Yeah.
But then they make a new one just like it.
Pretty much. That is kind of an odd, idea that, because they made several references to it being a much older ship and on its way out. So
that's part of their punishment.
Yeah,
they don't get a new ship,
which is not a bad call.
Captain, but you're getting the old ship.
Well, that's what they feel comfortable with. Really, they should have given them the most state of the art and really made them confused and bumbling with how it works. And Scotty would have been ticked off.
Sulu would have been happy.
All right.
So,
is that going to do it for Star Trek 4?
I think so. We've made the voyage back home.
Yeah, yep. And that is a nice, tie-in that he says that they're home, and that's something that Kirk kind of starting out this trilogy, talking about feeling old and everything, and it is a nice way to wrap it all up.
Yeah,
bring them home. So yeah. All right.
So we are done talking about the acts. Got to do the hero and villain.
This planet, these people, they are nothing to me.
You were made to be ruled.
The universe is power. Pure, unstoppable power.
Come to me, son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod.
And I am that force. I am that power.
In the end, you will always kneel.
Kneel before your master.
Well, we could do half of that, I think.
I know. I was just going to ask. The only villain is those Finnish harpooners.
Yeah.
As far as, I guess you could say the director at the institute that didn't tell her about the move is kind of the villain.
Yeah, well, it's funny because as he came on screen, I thought, oh, this is going to be the villain of our movie, because I was thinking he had more of a role, especially as far as more presence and really trying to sabotage her and a darker kind of character. But then it's oh yeah, this movie doesn't have a villain, and I kind of applaud it for that. It's interesting that they don't. There's no bad guy here, And,
no hard line bad guy.
The message,
it's humanity is the bad guy.
Yeah. And part of the little bonus thing that I was watching after it was Leonard Nimoy was talking about they wanted to make a conscious effort not to have any violence or, how he said it, no hostility. They wanted zero hostility, no fights, no injury caused by another. So obviously Chekhov gets injured, but it's at his own,
He fell.
Yeah. So it kind of ties in like with the whole message of Star Trek. It's, people trying to coexist peacefully and all that. So it kind of goes to show you don't need a movie with, fight scenes and things like that to tell a good story. So
yeah,
it's more of an idealistic kind of antagonist.
Yeah, but it's funny because I kind of went that way. I was trying to decide between the director guy and then the Klingon lawyer, basically.
Oh, the ambassador.
Yeah, the ambassador. I'm like, most villainous. It flip-flops between those two. But then I thought the Klingon ambassador was upset due to like kind of honor reasons.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll give him an out because it's based on honor. But the director guy, I made him like my most villainous because his concerns were primarily for keeping things easy for him and money.
Oh, is it when you say director, are you talking the president of the Federation?
No,
he
the
means
director of the
cetacean.
aquarium.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got you.
The one that Jillian slaps.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be some kind of romantic thing going on. Like he was jealous of Kirk, but that never really happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his thing was just like a PR and money thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he even says like they didn't want to deal with the press, and so I didn't recall him saying anything about money, but
well that was
they couldn't keep the whales because
sure.
So for him it was a money thing.
Okay, yeah.
Even though who's going to come to that museum now to see an empty tank?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although in all honesty, I mean, she even says like there's never been a live birth in captivity.
Sure.
So they should be let loose anyway, just for that chance. So it's kind of weird that she wants to keep them.
Well, she knows that
the
danger of them being hunted is probably greater than, I think she probably is thinking about it like there's no chance that the offspring will survive, but there's a greater chance that all three of them would be killed out in the wild. I guess is probably what she's thinking. So
I call BS on that one. The freaking ocean. I mean, over time, sure, but I mean, they still got. It's not like they should be instantly killed, which is what kind of happens is that they automatically get found by a whaling vessel. Maybe not drop the whales right near hunting grounds. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So I blame. That's it. The villain is the helicopter pilot that dropped him off, or whatever it was.
Okay.
Think of a better place to drop off some freaking whales, you jerk. Seriously, they got found in like what, a half hour?
Yeah. Pretty much. They just had eyes on the on someone following the helicopter, or
they had their guys reading the newspaper. They're like, oh, they're releasing whales. Let's keep some eyes on it.
Yeah.
Either that or don't put a radio signal inside the whale for people to pick up on.
But it was a classified signal, though.
Oh, yeah. Signal 401 or whatever the heck it was.
I'll start at 1 and I'll start clicking up. Oh, I found something.
Those whale hunters can't bribe somebody at the Whale Institute of Technology or whatever the hell it was called.
Well, they need money, so they did.
Yeah. I bet that director actually told the whale hunters.
We've uncovered a plot.
I knew it.
Good job.
Oh, we found the real villain of the movie.
I don't trust anybody in a tie.
All right, I feel good about
Sorry
this.
if any of you guys are wearing ties.
I always record with a tie, Patrick. Anyways, what about most heroic?
I believe there's a hero in all of us.
I just finally know what I have to do.
That keeps us honest.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
Gives us strength.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
Makes us noble.
And I know in my heart that it's right.
My most heroic was when Spock neck pinched the punk rocker, and like just the amount of joy he brought to that entire bus. I mean, they basically gave him an ovation.
Nice.
I'd say the hero would have to be the Jillian, who knew the radio frequency.
Sure.
Otherwise, they couldn't have found him and returned back to Earth 23rd century.
Yeah.
I mean, she took a gamble going to a park and assuming he'd be there.
Yeah. And he wasn't just some crazy.
Yeah. Although I question her judgment skills tremendously. She's randomly chasing down two weirdos that jumped into a whale tank.
She said she had a tire iron right where she could get to it. So
yeah. Meanwhile, as she's talking to them as she drives her truck, it looks like she runs over about 50 pigeons.
Yeah.
So villainous and most heroic goes to Jillian for sheer pigeon death toll and saving the whales. How about you, Travis?
I've got to give it to Kirk when he tells everyone to evacuate the bird of prey, and he goes back to get Scotty and Jillian, and then he gets them out, and then he stays to release like the manual release lever for the tanks for on the bird of prey. So that's pure heroics.
We may want to change that to Shatner himself for going in the water with the toupee.
Yeah. And I did watch them talking about it, and they kept it like purposefully kept it like long cuts. Like didn't, they didn't chop it up and have to edit around a bunch of cuts. Like he did the sequences, in like, I think it's like 2 cuts. It's like him swimming to the lever, and then it cuts, and then to him, essentially releasing the lever, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, yeah. What else we got?
You want to do Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, I guess so.
Attack of the killer tomatoes! Attack of the killer tomatoes! They'll beat you, bash you, squish you, mash you, chew you up for brunch, and finish you off for dinner or lunch.
All right.
I need to preempt this by saying that I am aware of, I'm not sure which Rotten Tomatoes score, but when I was, pulling this up via iTunes, like it lists the Rotten Tomatoes score. So I did see a number. I don't know which it applies to as far as audience or critics, or maybe it averages the two. I'm not sure. So.
Okay, then I will leave Travis the cheater for last.
Right.
So, Adam, what we do is just gauge what the audience Rotten Tomato score is versus the critics score. So, out of 100%, where do you think the audience landed on it versus the critics?
Let's see. So, I'll guess critics were 84-ish, and audience, trying to think if they'd like it more or less, just because of all the dumping on their time period. I'll say 88.
Okay. Let's see. For critics, I'm going to take liberal Hollywood into account and saving whales. I'm going to say 80% for critics. And then audience, I'm going to think it's lower just because it's a weird movie in general as far as the other previous 3 were concerned. And it's not so much sci-fi, it's more environmentalist. I'll say 62 for the audience. How about you, Travis?
Well, I already know one of the numbers, so that would...
Sure.
So I'll have to remove myself from guessing on this.
Sure, but just for the heck of it, let's see if you screwed up one or the other.
I'm going to say critics are at 78%.
Okay. How do you think the Trekkies liked it?
I mean, that's, I guess, the number that I would have to assume I know then, because...
Okay. I'll put an asterisk next to it.
Yeah.
So what do you got?
What's that?
What do you have for it? I don't know what it is.
I saw 85. That's the percentage that I saw. So again, I don't know which one that applies to.
Okay. So critics was 85%, which Adam was off by just 1, so he gets that one. And then audience was 81%. So Travis wins that without going over it, 65%. I think Adam had 88% for the audience. So it's highly regarded. I thought it would be lower for the audience, honestly, because it wasn't like so much space adventure as it was environmental advocacy, I guess.
I imagine people were ready for something different. They'd done, the original series ran for like 3 seasons, and then you had all the movies, all space adventures. I bet just the change in approach with this one and just shooting it all like basically in real locations and in and around, the real mid-'80s San Francisco, I think would have really appealed to a broad audience.
See, like, I was trying to, because like Adam said, I'm more of a Star Wars guy, so if there was a Star Wars movie about the Tauntauns extinction, I don't know if I'd be that stoked about it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. That's what the whale scenes reminded me of, was when they were cutting open the whales, Han using the lightsaber to cut open a Tauntaun.
Yeah.
And I want extra nerd points for knowing that it's called a Tauntaun if it is in fact called a Tauntaun.
It is in fact called a Tauntaun.
Good job, Patrick.
Nailed it. Totally knew it.
Yep. This podcast paying off.
I know. I'm learning. Eventually, I'll remember what you said the monster in the trash compactor was. I think it was poop, poop, shoot, shoot.
The Dianoga.
There you go.
Are you serious? Oh, I'm surrounded by nerds.
I told you I'm a total Star Wars geek.
Okay, if this was Spaceballs, it would be, I knew it. I was surrounded by assholes. 2 for 1.
Yeah. My favorite part is still when the guys are combing the desert with the pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. We ain't found shit.
Or the stunt doubles. You caught their stunt doubles.
Yeah, I like the princess with a mustache.
Yep.
I'm telling you, Travis, you are missing out.
Can we get back to Star Trek, please?
Okay, let me just grab some Pizza the Hut here. Rory's gonna love this episode.
I'm grabbing all those references you're throwing down.
Hey, it's coming up in a couple episodes.
Yeah, we're not too far away from
that.
Oh, you're gonna have so much fun, Patrick.
I know. And Travis is gonna be crying like a little baby.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, want to do some overall thoughts and ratings and then jump over to our plugs and wrap this one up?
Sure.
Adam, if you just want to give, just like I said, overall thoughts on the movie and then a rating out of 5.
So like I said, this one takes me back to my childhood, and the nostalgia helps bolster it up a bit. And then like we talked about too, the like whale effects and all that all holds up really, really well. So like I'm kind of torn between like a 4 and a 4.5. Put it in that range.
So 4.25?
Yeah, let's do that. 4.25.
All right, let's make the math hard for Travis.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay. I guess I'll go next. I'll give it a solid 4. It was a fun movie. Like we were talking about, I sort of stopped taking notes after the 3rd act because I wanted to see what happened to the whales. And it was fun, like the time travel with Spock, still trying to figure out his humanity, and then just time travel in general, the fun they had with it, plus the overall like reaching message was, it still holds up sadly. But yeah, I could see myself watching this again, definitely. So I'm going with a 4. How about you, Travis? You hate whales?
I hate whales. No. This is one of those that, like I said earlier, I remember fondly as a kid, and it was definitely one that I watched a lot as a kid. And revisiting it over the years, the few times that I've gone through the Star Trek movies and watched this one, I've always enjoyed it. And then watching it for this, like, I'm looking for problems or I'm looking for faults, and I couldn't find anything that I didn't like about this movie. I think the message is strong. I think the acting is really strong. I love seeing the original crew. I think Catherine Hicks, who plays Jillian, she pulls off the role completely natural, and I believe that she's invested in these whales. So I think she doesn't. I don't know whether she gets a lot of credit for this role or not, but she should. And I am giving it a 5. I have no problem giving this movie a 5.
Even after the sequence of the computer graphic heads?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, it was
okay.
At the time it would have looked interesting.
Okay.
You know, I don't like it as a visual because I think it's out of place, but it doesn't hurt the story, and I can imagine it was like at the time someone felt like they needed to visualize time travel, and that's just what they came up with. So I don't.
So you're putting this up there with Raiders?
Yeah. I have no problems with Star Trek 4.
Okay, impressive. All right, hate mail can be sent to Travis directly at Travis. I hate Raiders.com/AOL.org.
There you go.
Okay.
Hashtag I hate whales.
Well, you love whales, apparently. You gave it a 5.
Yeah, you love the whales.
Yeah.
Whale lover at... Oh, wait, that's probably not a good one.
Overall, we'll give it it's a 4.416 repeating for.
Nice. Way to go, Adam.
Yeah.
Oh. Made the math hard.
No, it was a good movie, though. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
I didn't think it was perfect by any means, but I enjoyed it a lot, immensely. I mean, awesome. Travis says this is as good as Rosebud, but whatever. And I'm pretty sure that's not the name of the movie. I can't remember what the name of that movie is, though.
Nice. I hope it drives you nuts, because I'm not going to tell you what it is.
That's okay. I'll talk to the traitorous Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alexa, what's the movie with Rosebud?
Yes. Computer. Rosebud.
Hello, computer.
I got a microphone here. It should work, right? Apple, tell me, how much is Travis full of? 100% feces, it said.
Oh, great.
Wow. Kind of a burn.
It's okay. I'm gonna edit your portion of this all out. So
it's gonna say 100% awesome now, isn't it? And I just gave you the sound clip to
there
do
you go.
That.
Thank you.
Oh, hoisted on my own sword. Oh, it hurts.
Well, Adam, do you want to tell our listeners where they can find you again? And
yeah, so my website is geekmindfusion.com. I'm the host of the Dark Knight Minute podcast, and you can go to geekmindfusion.com to listen to our episodes, or you can find us on all podcatchers. And yeah, we also do like movie reviews and some video game reviews, and some travel reviews will be coming soon. So yeah, go check all that out.
Great.
Very cool.
Thanks for joining us for Star Trek 4.
Yeah, it's been a blast.
All right. So, Travis, what do we got next?
And we will be back in 2 weeks for Evil Dead 2.
Ooh, let's hope it goes better than Evil Dead.
Yeah.
A lost episode.
The recording that was cursed by the Evil Dead themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm kind of looking forward to that, honestly, because I've been watching the Evil Dead series.
Oh, okay.
The TV series.
Yeah.
What is that? Not AMC. It's on. Oh, I'm blanking on what channel it's on.
Stars, isn't it?
Is it? Okay. Yeah, I've been watching it on Netflix.
I don't know.
So.
Or maybe it's on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, I saw it on Netflix, but.
Oh, okay.
So I'm interested to see how this will pan out after watching that.
Yeah.
So I guess until then, enjoy the safety until the evil comes.
Right. And hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Real Comic Heroes. Send us an email at realcomicheroes@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of Evil Dead 2 and what you thought of Star Trek 4. So I guess until then, you can also find me on Watchmen Minute. Anything else, Patrick?
No, that should do it. Yeah, live long and prosper, nerds.
4 years ago, in this quiet forest, in this cozy cabin, something happened. Something so frightening. Something so deadly. Something so evil. We prayed it would never happen again. Now, from the creator of Evil Dead comes Evil Dead 2. Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.